Right, let's talk about URL or Unified Resource Locator. So this is important because as we advance throughout this course, you will basically start building APIs, and it's good for you to understand exactly what do they mean. So the URL is the address of a given unique resource on the web. Take a look at this example here. So http:// www.amigoscode.com/courses/Spring Boot. Now, this URL right here is the address of this course called Spring Boot. So when you visit this URL, you are presented with the web page for this specific course. Now, the URL is divided into few things. One, you can see that we have https://. So this is the protocol. So we either have HTTP or HTTPS. So S really means that the connection between the client and the server is encrypted. This is a big topic, and we're not going to cover how the handshake and how basically the connection between the client and the server with HTTPS does work, but I'll leave some resources for you to go and learn more about it. Then we have in here what it's called as the URN. So the URN is basically amigoscode.com/courses/Spring Boot. Now the URN is divided into the host, so amigoscode.com, so this is the host. We also have the connection port. So in this case, because I'm on protocol HTTPS, then the port is 443, which is usually hidden. So if it's 443 or 80, then you don't need the port. And I'll show you this in a second. Then we have the resource path in here. So /, so this is after the host. So this is after the host and the port, then the resource path. So the address of a given unique resource on the web, /courses, Spring Boot, or we can have / and then courses. And here we have question mark and then price equals to free. So these are query parameters. And I'll show you how this works in a second as well. But this is a resource path as well as this, but with query parameters. And to be honest, this is the structure of a given URL. Now, if I open up the web browser so we can play around with our API. So in here, have a look. The request that we had before was http://. So this is the protocol. Then this is the host and localhost because we are developing locally. If we deploy this API on a server out there on the cloud, then instead of localhost, that will be the actual domain, amigoscode.com, for example. The port in here is actually needed because it's not 80 nor 443. And then the actual path to the resource is /greet. Now, what is the resource? Well, this entire JSON object is the resource. If I was to change the port, so in here, if I open up project and then let's open up the application.yaml for a second and change from port 8080 to port 80 and then reload. There we go. You can see that it's running on port 80. Now, if I go back to Chrome and it's no longer port 8080, but instead is 80. But what I could do is actually omit the port. What I could do is omit the port altogether. So just say localhost / and then greet. Enter. And you can see that we have the exact same output. I could also say column and then 80. And this is the exact same thing. And you see that the port is actually omitted. Now, let me show you query parameters quickly. So if I go back to IntelliJ and in here, let me just put it back to port 8080 and then close application.yaml. And inside of main, so we have greet response. It's a get mapping in here. So basically this is the name method and this is the data type, which is returned to the client. So here, what I want to do, so inside I'm going to say at, and then request, and then param. And within that, I'm going to say name. And here I'm going to say string and then name. And within this request param, I'm also going to say that required equals to false. So the default is true. Let me put this on a new line so you see properly. Actually, just like that. So we have the value there, the name, and I think this is good. So you can see everything here, right? So we have name in here, which is been passed into the URL, which you don't see at the moment. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the greet message. So I'm going to say string greet message equals to, and then I'm going to say name dot is blank. So if it's blank right here, I'm going to say hello. Otherwise, I'm going to say hello plus, so space and then plus, and then the name. And instead of saying greet in here, I'm just going to pass the greet message. Now let's restart this. There we go. And go back to Chrome. And in here, have a look. So this should be 8080 now. So column 8080. If I send the request, oops, we have an internal server error. So remember, if I go to the textbook, so here, server error between 500 and 599, and we have a 500 which just says internal server error. So we actually have something not quite right within our code. Let's have a look. So if I go back to IntelliJ and within the logs, surely you can see that. So cannot invoke string is blank because name is null. Cool. So this is a problem with our server. So we have to fix it. So here I'm going to say name. So name equals and then null, or name is blank. So this will fix it, hopefully. So hopefully you got the chance to see the other status code 500. Go back to Chrome, and in here, let's send the request. I'm just going to reload and have a look. So this time it worked. So we have greet and then hello. Now the query param is, I can say question mark and then name equals to, and then here I can say Alexa, for example. If I send the request, you can see that now we have hello and then Alexa. So with query params, we can actually have one or more. So here maybe you want to have and. So if you want to have more than one, you just basically say and then I can say foo. So that's the key, and then that's the value, so bar. So this is basically what I wanted to cover with URLs. If you have any questions, please do let me know, but don't worry about this too much, because later as we start to build our APIs, you will see how everything will come together. If you have any questions, please do let me know. Otherwise, catch me on the next one.